All right, all right, all right. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
Doing well, coming off Super Bowl Sunday. It was a very entertaining game. Uh, got a full overtime after the regulation, so a lot of extra football. That was fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was kind of a slow game.
Yeah,
Kind of started kind of slow, and then obviously as time ran out, the drama built because it was such a tight game at that point, and then that's when everything took another turn. So it was cool to see. But it just shows you also that Mahomes is as special as it gets, dude. And that doesn't matter. Tyreek is sitting here watching them win two Super Bowls without him. You know what I mean? And that's got to be a little bit of a bitch for him. I know he played it off on social media over the weekend, but that's the most important player in. And I'm not breaking any news here, or enlightening anybody. Everybody knows that the dude that touches the ball on every single down is the most important. And when you've got that guy, you have a chance every single time, dude. He's just
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's incredible when a talent like Tyreek Hill, who by and large can be considered the greatest at his position, and last couple of years, I mean, especially this past year, 1799 was the league's leading receiver. He goes to another team, record-breaking contract, and then that former team is still able to replenish what it needs, even if it struggles at that position with the wide receiver struggles that they had throughout the year. They put it together as the season goes. And when you have a guy like number 15, Patrick Mahomes, back there, he's able to make up for whatever deficiencies you have on this team and just somehow put it together. And they end up winning the Super Bowl after all the struggles throughout the year. When and underdogs is on three different occasions throughout the postseason run, and to win it, this one's the most remarkable for him.
Yeah, yeah, no, that if you think about it, I talked about this earlier. The game mirrored the Kansas City season. The Kansas City season started with all kinds of turmoil. Their offense was shot to shit. Receivers were dropping balls left and right. Mahomes was frustrated. They were making mistakes. They were shooting themselves in the foot. And then they got the wake up call against the Raiders. And then it kind of turned around for them and they started winning games and started getting it done. And the game yesterday was the same thing. It started with all kinds of turmoil. They were making all kinds of mistakes. They had to have an offensive and a defensive team meetings, to kind of straighten all this shit out. You got Kelsey freaking out on Andy Reid on the sidelines, all that kind of stuff. So, it's interesting how the game mirrored the Kansas City season, that it all started in turmoil and then it kind of ended up well.
And they always are coming from behind. Both times against the 49ers have had a 10-point deficit. This one a lot earlier in the game. It was only in the first half, 10-0. So still a lot of football left to be played. But last time when it was in Miami, when it was this background that I have, it's from that game. When last time the Super Bowl was in Miami, the one that I have covered, they were down by 10 I think it was in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter already. When the Patrick Mahomes had that deep third down play to Tyreek Hill that got them rolling, and Jimmy G missed a receiver open deep when he had a chance to put it away. And then I even think about like when they had that game against the Texans in the AFC divisional round where they were down big early at Arrowhead and they had to come back. The Deshaun Watson Texans in 2019 on that Super Bowl run. So I mean, yeah, these are come from behind type of cats, and they've done it multiple times, and now a couple times in the Super Bowl.
By the way, I'm looking at the chat board while you're talking, and I got to give Sal, I think it is, a little love, because I'll rip you when you're saying something stupid, but I'm going to give you plenty of love when you deserve it. Sal put it, and he put it beautifully. Every QB is a system QB, but the great ones thrive when the system breaks down. Way to go, Sal. Way to go.
That's a beautiful quote. That is
that's exactly. Because somebody was telling me that, Purdy's a system QB. Everybody's a system QB, dude. It's just every player is a system QB, a system player. They can't play in every system. Now, do we have freaks that can do anything? George Kittle can play in any system. Yeah. No. Mahomes can play in any system. You want to make him a running / passing QB? He can do that. You want to make him a pure pocket passer? He can do that. But that's the fun part, and that's why when I read that from Sal, I wanted to bring it up because I know I'm going to forget it, and a whole bunch of them will come in when we're done. But it's just funny how people use that lazy line of system when, brother, everybody. That's kind of what the coach and the front office have to do. They have to look at you as a player, and before they draft you, they have to say, "Oh, okay, yeah, you fit our scheme, you fit our system. Oh, you don't." And I gave the Jamar Fletcher example as a perfect one. You drafted a zone corner for a man-on-man scheme. Oh, I wonder why he failed. I wonder. You know what I mean? Was it Jamar Fletcher's fault? Actually, it wasn't, because he became a serviceable backup zone corner. Okay? He wasn't really a starter, but he would play backup for a couple teams for a few years. And so at least he found a home where he belonged. And that's what I think people need to understand, that in football, everybody pretty much is part of one kind of system or another.
Yeah, and Jamar Fletcher drafted into the Dolphin system instead of Drew Brees, of course. So, yeah, everyone plays it in a certain system. And I think, it's sort of how people want to describe it when they say, okay, I don't think the player is as good as what we're seeing, but that the system brings the best out of him. But to your point, that's the whole dynamic of a coach and a GM and everyone just trying to work together in unison to put the players that they bring in, their personnel, into the right system at the end of the day. So, then that means, okay, everyone's doing their job right because you're drafting the right guys for what you're implementing on the field. So, I mean, I get what people are saying when they say it, but it's not like it's a knock on anyone. It shouldn't be just because.
That's where you nailed it, dude. Yeah. That's where you're nailing it. They're using it as an insult, and actually, it's not an insult. You're actually misusing the word, and that's the problem. That the person using it is not using it in the proper definition of it. And that instead they're using it as some kind of an insult when you couldn't have Montana play Marino's offense. That's not who Montana was. Montana needed the West Coast, spreading it out, a lot of running game, all those kind of things. If he had to, drop back 45 times with no running game, I don't know if Joe's the same quarterback. Because that's not the system that you want to put him in. You know what I'm saying? Just like you don't want to put Tua Tagovailoa in Lamar Jackson's system, because there's no way he can do anything like Lamar Jackson, because nobody can do what Lamar Jackson does with the football running around. You know what I mean? So everybody's got a system that they fit in. And then, there are a couple of those freaks that can play in any system. But really, those are very few players that actually can do it.
Yeah. I was actually going to get to that. I was before you got to it. I was thinking we were on the same wavelength there. Tua Tagovailoa in his system, Brock Purdy in a similar that Kyle Shanahan offense, same that Mike McDaniel came from. So similar ways, and then a lot of people use it.
Lamar Jackson,
right? Yeah, and I'm getting to
it. He could never do what Purdy does, ever.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to say, okay, well, Tua or Brock Purdy or insert whoever you want to say, any one that you want to call a game manager, system quarterback, et cetera, then, they can't. If you put them in Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills offense, they're not going to do the same thing. If you put them in Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens offense, they're not going to do the same thing. But Justin Herbert, whoever you want to say, well, yeah, you're not asking them to do those same things. And those are different quarterbacks with different skill sets. That's why those offenses cater to what their skills are, where, okay, yeah, even Josh Allen, yeah, I mean, he's otherworldly with his arm strength, and then his running ability and the things he does. Well, then if you ask him to do some of the same things Tua does, he probably turns the ball over at a high rate, like we already do.
I'm glad you brought up Josh Allen. I am glad you brought up Josh Allen, because Ken Dorsey changed the system on Josh Allen. And how did that work out, my friend? It didn't.
Right.
He played like shit. Why? Because you were trying to make him more of a pocket passer. And guess what Josh Allen isn't? He's not he can pass from the pocket, but you've got to use his legs. And that's what Dable was doing, and that's what Joe Brady went back to.
Yeah.
And so, again, systems. It's not a knock for those of you out there. It's actually a definition for each player. What system do they belong in? Where do they excel? Because they're not going to excel in some other places. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. If you're going to use Mostert as a hammer, brother, he's not going to last a month. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to use him on an outside zone and you're only going to give him 15, 17 carries, now all of a sudden he fits that. He fits what you want to do with him. But he's not a pounded every down back. That's not really what you want to do where he Mostert.
And at the end of the day, you're going to be judged by your career in the systems that you played in.
Exactly.
It's not like, no one got into the Hall of Fame by, okay, well, he did this, but he could have also even done more if he was in another system. You're judged by what you do in the offense that you're in, or if you're a defensive player in the defense you're in, and just the fit that you are for that team. So ultimately, that's how you're going to be judged and how your career is going to go.
All right, Doggy, talk to me. Brian Duker in. Let's see. We got Madison out. We got Mike Judge, Colby Smith, Ricardo Allen, Joe Casper, Kenny Baker, Brendan Farrell, Campanelli, Ronaldo Hill. So it looks like some changes on offense because obviously they brought in the guy from Hawaii to be he's also kind of an O-line coach, which I thought that was very interesting. Sapolo. But what'd you think of some of the changes that the new defensive coordinator is making?
Yeah, interesting. So now, Ronaldo Hill. I don't know if you named him. So Ronaldo Hill out along with. So that's Duker's position now, is that secondary coach and pass game coordinator. So now this is a promotion for him. He was just DB's coach for the Detroit Lions. And Weaver goes back with him to actually 2015 with the Cleveland Browns. So sort of the Weaver's 2-year stint, Cleveland Browns defensive line coach. 2014, Mike McDaniel was on that staff. That ends up being that connection. And then the next year, McDaniel's not there anymore. He's with Atlanta. But then Duker is a defensive intern on that staff with Weaver. So interesting how that comes almost a full decade later. So that's the connection there. So a big jump for him. And then, beloved Sam Madison no longer around. So he already had sort of it was a slight demotion last year when Ronaldo Hill came in and he was that secondary coach, pass game coordinator. So Madison was just a cornerbacks coach at that point. And then he had the pass game specialist title along with it. But and then now Madison out. So we'll see. I don't know much about Duker. We are going to hear from Weaver this week. So we'll finally get introduced to him, and that'll be a good time to ask him. Really nail down the scheme that he wants to, which we've talked about here. It's also going to come down to the players and how the personnel ends up shaping out throughout
he won't tell you that day when you guys ask him. The prediction is, hey, we're gonna adjust and we're going to do things depending on what personnel we have and who we're facing. And he's going to give you that general bullshit question because there's no way he's going to tell you and define who he's going to. I just don't see that.
Yeah. But you can get some general ideology out of a guy, especially when his one stint as a defensive coordinator, it was a very aggressive defense. And then now he's been on more of the opposite in recent years in Baltimore. So under Mike McDonald, at least. So, we know Wink Martindale, he was more blitz heavy like him. Where does his ideology in general, whether it's blitz rate, the man versus zone, the single high safety, the 2 high safety looks, all those things. And I don't know how specific he'll get, but we might get some general philosophical ideas out of him. Last year we did. We know Vic Fangio who he is, but you had some quotes out of him, like as far as the blitz rate, we knew it was going to be different from Josh Boyer the year before, and he said, I prefer to dictate when we blitz as opposed to doing it out of necessity. So there's some things you get out of that first introductory press conference with the coordinator.
Well, with Fangio's different because you have a track record of decades of doing it. This guy's new at this.
Yeah.
And he's inheriting a new team. And so that's one thing that I'd like to see how he handles it, because usually when you inherit, you're not going to get everybody you really need first, in your first shot. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays, certain guys.
Yeah.
But it is it's kind of sad to see Sam Madison go.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Yeah, but it seems clear he's not shy about implementing what he wants, the guys that he wants to bring in. Because even like guys who were beloved from whether it's Sam Madison, the previous staff, and Anthony Campanelli, now who was up for the defensive coordinator job as an internal candidate 2 years running, then now he's gone. So clearly, and maybe that's on him as well, on Campanelli, just seeing 2 straight years, I'm not able to move up within this franchise. Let me go somewhere else. That could have been part of it as well. So now probably is very understanding when it's Vic Fangio, a guy who has entered Miami with 19 years as defensive coordinator and 3 years as a head coach, on, and that resume. But then maybe that next time when the position comes up and then it's another young up-and-coming coach that's around his same age, then, I could see how at that point as an assistant coach, you're like, man, I got to, find my happiness elsewhere.
Yep. So David Furones, who covers the Miami Dolphins on a daily basis, the first move in free agency will be what?
First move in free agency. Let's see. Well, if it's not going to be Christian Wilkins, because we've already on this program have moved past that. You've made it clear he's not coming back, right? Then I would prioritize Robert Hunt. I think he's going to be one of the top guards in this league. So I would like to have him back, especially. But that would make you a great right side of the line for years to come, since you already have Austin Jackson there solidified for the next 3 years. If you get Rob Hunt in the fold, he's got fewer questions right now. He did have the hamstring injury late last season, but coming back from that, right, it's not an ACL injury like Connor Williams has. And then, Teron Armstead on the left side is getting up there in age, and he's even contemplating retirement. I think he'll be back. But I feel like that would be the top priority, is keep something that you already have strong, and then you'll free up some money if Christian Wilkins indeed is gone, and with the restructures and other things you can do. So that might end up being the biggest maybe free agency move, but maybe there's a big trade or something that can be pulled off. You know how these things develop. It's just no one was predicting Jalen Ramsey at the same time last year. No one was predicting Tyreek Hill at the same time 2 years ago. So things just pop up. So it'll be really exciting.
Yeah, Greer, McKenzie, and Allen are always working it. So you never know what those guys are up to and who they're talking to right now.
Yeah.
About maybe a free agent that could become available. But I love your thinking on the Rob Hunt thing. I think Rob is one of those guys that definitely gets re-signed, and you definitely need him. And he's a guy you can build on for years to come. He's been a really, really good find, man. I've been really impressed with him overall with Rob Hunt.
And it almost becomes kind of a decision between Rob Hunt and Christian Wilkins, because if you're not using those funds on Wilkins, then, make sure you bring Rob Hunt back. You don't want a lot of your better players from the previous years leaving your program, especially when you're in this win now window, especially if you're not replenishing that talent with other top tier talent, because they're going to be strapped for cash as well. So yeah, it's kind of like you're not going to let both of those guys go. And then if we're deciding, Christian Wilkins might have priced himself out, then Rob Hunt becomes, who already was a priority, but becomes like really priority 1A.
All right, what do you got going on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, just tracking any news and Anthony Weaver press conference this week. So we'll be introduced to him, and so I'll be covering all of that this week.
All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and of course call my friends at Welt and Rheaume. Jeff Welt, he is a stud. He's happy right now. Jeff Welt is happy because he's got a lot of Bitcoin and he sees it going up to 49,000. He's happy. But listen, if you got some issues, bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, And Jeff is awesome. He loves his music. So you can talk music with him and crypto if you want. Welt and Rheaume, baby, 954-966-4646. David, appreciate you, my man. We'll catch up later on the week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you got it. Welt and Rheaume, Miami Dolphins report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.